Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francis podcast, part of the Bet Rivers Network. We come to you before what is a big sports weekend, obviously also a holiday, the solemn day of Good Friday today. Obviously, we're in Passover and Easter coming up on Sunday. We wish everybody happy Easter. Um, and of course, one of the great days in sports tomorrow, the Final Four, and I know they made a big deal about how the ticket prices went down after Duke lost. Hey, the ticket prices are still outrageously high. If you want a good seat, if you wanted to go there and buy a good seat for the Final Four doubleheader, like on the court. Now remember, that's a huge building. They're playing that in Lucas Oil. So you can be on the seventh level for $500 and you're like in the next county. Yeah, there's not much of a basketball game for you. But if you're in the I always look at it, and they do that. They play in the big buildings on purpose because of the fact they need to sell all those seats. They get 500,000 or close to 750,000 requests for tickets every year. Um, if you're in the first 18, 20,000 seats, the configuration that puts you inside that bowl, that's like being in a regular basketball arena. If you're up in, the rest of the place and you're up 7 tiers and there's 7 levels in Lucas Oil, there's one like, luxury level that's in there, but there's 7 levels in all. It's a nice stadium. I've been in it a bunch of times. Um, it's a long way to the court. It really is. But if you wanted to go buy what you would say is a 100 level seat at the Garden on the court, you're talking 8 for a ticket. So that's a lot of money. I mean, it really is. But it's a great day. I always say it's one of those days people should experience because you're in that building 2 hours before the game starts, and the anticipation is so overwhelming. From you got 4 schools all thinking they can win a championship. You got 4 bands, you got all the students, you got, all the everything, and the intensity is unbelievable. Plus, you also have all the coaches because, this is a convention week for basketball. Guys get jobs, there's a lot of different things that go on, um, and the way it always worked, and I'm sure it still works the same way. I haven't been to the Final Four in a couple of years. I used to be there every year. I worked it for 17 years for CBS. I haven't been there in a while now, but it was always the same. The coaches all go to the Saturday games, and then they give their tickets to their assistants, and a lot of time they sell them for Monday night. There's always a lot of tickets available for Monday night because remember, 2 schools are disappointed and leave, and they sell their tickets off as soon as the games are over. So you go to their hotels and you can buy tickets for a reasonable amount of money. And so Monday ticket is never an incredible it's very rare, only if it's in a small building would a Monday ticket be a rare ticket. Um, the bottom line is I remember the year that Kansas was in the final with Danny and Larry Brown. When they got to the final, the Kansas people were swinging in and trying to get seats for the final. That was a rare occurrence. That doesn't happen very often. Um, but still, it's a special day. And hey, I know everyone's like, "There's no Cinderellas." There's no Cinderellas in college basketball anymore. The NIL has wiped that out. We've talked about it a million times. It used to be that those mid-majors had experienced teams that were together 2 and 3 years, and they got to their senior year, and they were a lot older than maybe a team that was a big name. Well, that's not the case anymore. These teams are older because the guys are moving around so much, and they move around year after year after year, and a guy spends 3 years at one school and says, I'm gonna go play here next year for big money, that kind of thing. Or a guy has a big tournament, and now he's getting offers from all over the place. Or his coach leaves, and now he's getting offers from all over the place. And if you have a player at a mid-major, this is what Tom Pecora said to me, and it was 100% true. He said, it's like being a minor league manager. If you develop a young guy quickly, the big club's coming to get him. So if you are a mid-major and you have a freshman who was really terrific, he's gone. He's in the Big East, he's in the SEC, he's in the ACC. He's taking big money somewhere. That's just the way it works now. I mean, that's the game. So what we have is 2 incredibly evenly matched teams with as much experience and as much senior well, we got a lot of freshmen too, but great freshmen, but the point is as much NBA talent as we've seen in a very long time. Plus, you know what else we have? A lot of size. These are big teams. Big men that play are gonna play a huge role, and college basketball, you always hear, "Oh, the guards decided, the guards deci" the big men are taking a far more prominent role. UConn is here because Reed carried them for the first 35 minutes of that game. Forget what he did to Furman when he put up 31 and 27, which is an insane game. He out-rebounded Furman by himself. But the point is, what he did in the first 35 minutes of the game against Duke, he carried the team. He played as well. I can't remember a big man playing better, and I know a lot of people think that, Lindenberg has played the best in the tournament, and I'm not taking anything away from him, but I think Reed has been the MVP of the tournament. I think he has been unbelievable. I think he has and he will have to be special again for UConn to beat Illinois, because I think Illinois has more firepower, and Illinois, I think, pound for pound, has a better team, but I'm not sure that they can handle Reed. And their center, Ivizic, has played well. He's gonna have to play well, but Reed has been so dominant, and for Reed in this Final Four, and he has moved himself into the first round, I wouldn't be surprised if he's moved himself into the top 15 players. He is gonna have to earn it because no matter who wins the Michigan-Arizona game, if UConn beats Illinois, and they have a legitimate chance to beat them, I think Illinois is a smidge better, but I think they have a really, without question, a really good chance. And both of them like to rely on the 3, and we'll see whose threes are falling. Um, Illinois has played a lot better defense the last month. I loved Illinois in January, and then I got off them because I saw some really terrible defensive efforts from them, especially one against UCLA, which I didn't like. And I watched the game, and I was, like, really disillusioned by Illinois, and Illinois came back, though, and played a lot better, and their game against Houston was sensational. It was absolutely sensational. Um, but the big man matchups, Reed against Ivizic, and then Mara against Krivas, Krivas is gonna be something else. I mean, the front lines and the overall talent for Michigan and Arizona is unbelievable. I mean, those 2 teams, Michigan and Arizona, have bring as much talent to the Final Four as I've seen on teams in a very long time. Size, unbelievable. Size at multiple positions. I think if Arizona and Michigan played 100 times, it'd probably be 50-50. I think they're that close. Michigan's a point and a half favorite. I like the Michigan point guard all year. I think he's played erratically at times. I think he's very important to their team. But I think if Arizona has an edge, and I think the front lines balance other out. I think in the Illinois-UConn game, UConn has to get over 20 points out of Reed, and he has to not be in foul trouble. If he gets in foul trouble, it's gonna be devastating. UConn needs him in the worst way. Um, I'm not sure Illinois can handle Reed. That could be the difference in that game. Both these games are if you like one side, I have no problem with it. Like I said, I'd give Illinois the smallest of edges. I give Arizona the smallest of edges, and here's why. And I don't love the Arizona coach, never have. They've been disappointing in his reign before this year. But his backcourt and his swing players are absolutely unreal. And considering the size he has, and then what he has in the backcourt could be the difference in the game. I think if Arizona wins, they're gonna win because of their backcourt. And I think that's where that game will be won. I think that's where Michigan can be the least bit. There's not a lot of vulnerabilities on Michigan or Arizona. They have been sensational all year. Now, Arizona's actually been even more consistent. They lost at Kansas on a Monday night. You know, Self has never lost a big Monday game ever. And they lost to Texas Tech. That's it. They've played more ranked teams than any team in the history of the NCAA tournament in one season. And both Michigan's performance, starting with their 21-0 run against Tennessee, and Arizona's second half performance, which was unbelievable. Nobody could have beat Arizona with what they did in the second half of that game the other day to get to the Final Four. So these games, they deserve to be 1.5-point games. I mean, that's it. These teams are as even as they can possibly be. Illinois is a 1.5 favorite. I think they're a smidge better, but like I said, it's about Reed. Illinois wants to shoot threes. They got a lot of guys who can shoot threes. They have a precocious freshman who can go off, and he's not afraid to take over. Obviously, UConn has guys who can get very hot or be very cold from three. You saw that in the Duke game. 1 for 18, and then the light goes on. Caravan's a guy who's played in a million big games. He spent his career in the Final Four. He's a prolific winner. He made a great play at the end of the game against Duke. He also hit a huge three after having a nothing game. He hit a huge three. Nothing game from three. He made a couple of nice passes to set up Reed down the stretch, but he hadn't hit a shot all game from the perimeter until he knocked down the one that took them from 4 back to 1 back as a critical shot. And obviously, he made the pass to Mullins for the shot heard around the world in a devastating loss for Duke. But these teams are absolutely loaded. They are studs. I mean, you're looking at guys, when you watch these games, if you take the starting lineups for the Michigan, Arizona teams, and then watch when the draft happens, you're going to see these players bink, 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 right off the board. That's how good they are. They are loaded, these teams, and the Michigan, Arizona winner will be favored. But as you know, if you've ever paid attention to the history of the NCAA tournament, just because the heavy favorite, is supposed to win on Monday night doesn't mean they win on Monday night. A lot of times, the team on Monday night, which played the monster matchup, is exhausted, is missing some hours because the other team gets off its feet earlier, gets a little more rest. The emotional high of coming off this epic battle. And that's why Michigan, Arizona is second. And they've been the two best teams all year. But you're talking about pedigrees here. Illinois has got a lot of talent. Michigan and Arizona have been the two best teams all year, and UConn has been the dominant figure in the sport now for years under Hurley. They're in their third Final Four in the last 4 years. They've won 2 national championships. Now, I understand that team was a different team, and those guys are having success in the pros. I understand that. But this team is not on that level. But you know what? Hurley has instilled a gameness and a toughness in UConn that is palpable for all his craziness, for all his antics, okay? All his antics. I mean, only Hurley could have people talking about him getting a technical foul after the shot was made. I mean, only Danny could do that. I mean, he's funny. I know he annoys people, but he's funny. I get a kick out of him. I like him, and he's a hell of a coach. And the fact, see, here's what was so unbelievable about that comeback. Normally, when you're going to come back from a big number, you get all the way back. Like all of a sudden, you're down 19, and 2 minutes later, you're down 10, then you're down 4. And all of a sudden, in 4 minutes of clock time, you just erase 13 points. That's not what happened here. They had to push the rock up the hill. And there were numerous occasions when the rock slipped back. It would be 15, 14, 14, 12, back to 14, back to 15, back to 14, back to 12, back to 14. And then it got to 10, 12, 10, 12, back to 13, 10, 12. Every time they pushed it, they had to push it again. Then they had to hold it there and push it again and hold it there and push it again. And remember something. Two things that were imperative there. One, the last 3 minutes of the first half, because that went from 19 to 15. If that goes to 23, it's over. And at any time, if UConn crashes for 2 minutes on the clock in the second half, or Duke gets hot for 2 minutes on the clock and gets a run and gets an 8-0 run on the board based on Duke shooting or UConn futility, it doesn't matter. That would have finished that game. If that game had gone back to 18, it would have been over. They never would have had the ability to come back. Now, I understand it's like a miracle to win anyway, but the point is they kept grinding and grinding, and that takes leadership in the huddle, play after play, and grit and belief. And that's part of what you instill in a program, a backbone and a toughness that program believes that they're gonna win. That if they do what they need to do, if they give it the effort, if they keep grinding. How many times do you think he had to keep telling them, "Just keep shooting the 3. Just keep shooting the 3. Just keep shooting the 3." They're missing every shot. And I thought I harkens back with Mullins. Now, the kid is a brilliant shooter. He actually reminds me a little bit of Chris Mullin, as a youngster. That's how good his stroke is. Now, you're talking rarefied air there. But this kid has a almost perfect stroke. But he's a baby. And he's in the NCAA tournament. And if you go back to the first 2 games, and I know UConn fans know this, but the other people won't. He went 0 for 8 in his first game. He missed his first 3 or 4 in the second game. And now they're going to win the game, but the point is, Danny's encouraging him. He hit a baseline jumper from about 12 feet out, and then he knocked down a 3. Now, he only knocked down 2 threes in that game. I think he was like 2 for 8, but he had broken the streak. He didn't go 2 full games in the tournament without a 3, which would have played on his mind. And look what happened. In the regional final, he's not afraid to step up and take a shot at the end of the game and shoot a perfect shot from whatever it was, 38 feet, 37 feet, 35 feet, whatever it wound up being exactly. Remarkable. So who wins? First of all, I think it'd be very hard to bet either one of these games. I really believe that. I think it's that close, both games. I think Reed is the key to the UConn without any question. I think Illinois is a smidge better. and I think they're playing very confidently, but would I be surprised if UConn won? Absolutely not. In the other game, like I told you, if they played 100 times, I think it'd be 50-50. I think the Arizona guards is where I see a little bit of an edge that could break through against Michigan. Now, when you're dealing with bigs who are really critical, foul trouble can be a whistle can be a big factor. You know, does Addy Mara get in foul trouble? Does Krivas get in foul trouble? Does Reed or the Illinois center get in foul trouble? Bigs can always get in foul trouble. You know that, so that's critical. And as teams go building their teams again, all you hear now, some teams, Florida, Michigan, they like having two bigs. But even like Patino now, he wants a big. He wants a 7-footer. He wants someone who can be that rim protector, that guy inside, who can throw his weight around, who can maintain that where you're not gonna get muscled off the board in the end of these games, as they did against Kansas, as they did against Duke. They got pushed around. And that's the difference of having a guy who's 6'8" and a guy who's 7 foot. There's a premium for these guys now again. And there wasn't for a while in college, but now there is again. And like I said, you got these other schools, they want 2. They're not afraid to play 2 bigs. And look at the lines. Look at the size of the front lines for Michigan and for Arizona. I give Arizona the smidge of an edge because of the backcourt. Great Final Four. Will be a terrific Monday night. One thing to watch in the UConn game. Obviously, they need Reed to be as good as he's been. If Reed has a bad game, I don't think UConn can survive. Illinois is 0-5 in games that are 3 points decided by 3 points or fewer. That's not a good sign. That's something that would worry me a little bit because this game figures to go right to the wire. Now, obviously today, and I kind of buried the lead, but it's been coming up, and they've already played a bunch of games. Which, hey, it's still opening day. It's still, if you're lucky enough to go to be at the ballpark, if you're fortunate enough to have a ticket for opening day, then the experience is great. Even if it's not a great weather day today, they'll play, but it's not a great weather day. It's not a great opponent, but it's still opening day. Now, where it's lost a little bit of its luster is when you have already played as many games as they've played in your opening. If you're not going to the game, it doesn't have the same impact. It doesn't. You've already played a bunch of games. Plus, the team's playing terrifically right now. It's pitching insanely good. It's utterly dominant. I mean, Seattle, they were just so perplexed by their inability to put together anything offensively. Their pitching has been just unbelievably good. And they've got some guys who are hitting, obviously, right now too. So the Yankees look like early in the year, they're firing on all cylinders. While I know people are getting a little crazy with the Mets, I think it's too early to get as crazy as they're getting. I think way too much is being brought about chemistry. Way too much. You know what? Teams in baseball don't have to like each other. I always think the idea of a captaincy is so overrated. The Yankees didn't have a captain from Gehrig to Munson. You wanna look at how many championships they won in those years? That took in the post-Gehrig DiMaggio years, and then all the Mantle years. All they did was win. They were in a World Series every year. Maggio was in the World Series, I believe 11 times, and Mantle was in the World Series 12 of his first 14 seasons. I mean, come on. All they did was win. They were like US Steel. They used to say in those days that rooting for the Yankees was rooting for US Steel. When US Steel was the biggest when US Steel was the biggest company, you know, in the world, the model company like IBM, US Steel. If you notice, that always changes. Always changes. Is it gonna change again? That's another interesting thing, but to see what's gonna happen to the Apples and Amazons and Googles and stuff like that, because usually if you go back to the '60s and '70s, IBM, US Steel, uh, Xerox, I can get a lot of companies that you don't even think about anymore. So it changes. Does it change again? We'll see. Um, so like I said, if you go into the opener, it's still the opener. If it's not exactly the same because they have played a bunch of games. I think it takes away a little bit of the luster. It's not the same as opening day, but it's good to have them back at the ballpark. And they're obviously playing very, very well. The Masters gets underway on Thursday. So for golf fans, it's always the biggest week of the year. You wait all year for this. Now, has the Masters lost a little of its luster? I don't think so. I mean, this is the first, just to show you how it's a changing game. This is the first Masters since 1994 that will not have Phil Mickelson or Tiger in it for different reasons. Phil, who's no longer a factor, has got some issues with his family, and Tiger obviously has other issues that obviously we know has been bandied about as he tries to get his act together. Um, you do have Rahm and DeChambeau and guys like that playing in it, which helps. Having Rahm there helps. And the other storyline it's a little more wide open this year because Scheffler does not come in hot. His game has been off. He's had issues with his grip. And he has really been erratic off the tee and leaving a lot of balls right. And he has not, but again, he'll be the favorite. He will be a very low number because of who he is. They're not going to give you any bargain with him, but it is a little more wide open. And there's some young emerging players. We're going to see how they do here at Augusta. But still, there's nothing like it. I don't care. There's nothing like it because the course is the story. It's such a unique course. It's such a unique setting. It's such a throwback. And the other thing is, and I always say this, if you're playing a US Open course, if you're playing, a PGA course for a championship, and even the British Open rotation, the average golf fan, even the diehard, doesn't know the course, doesn't know the holes like he knows Augusta. Every golf fan who has grown up with Augusta, every golf fan who's a serious golf fan, he knows what you can do on what holes. He knows the holes you can attack. He knows what happens when you come to 12 on Saturday or Sunday, how it can cost you, how the winds can be so ever changing that if you read them wrong, you can lose a championship right there. You know the risk reward of attacking 13 and 15 based on where you are off your drive. You know how hard it is to score on 17 and 18 if you're trying to make up there, it's very difficult. 18 is a very tough hole to score on, very tough. I sat one year on Sunday in the 18 tower, and I had 9 on one side and 18 on the other side, and I watched the whole day there with Jim and, Faldo, and 1 birdie on 18 the entire day. It's a rough hole. It's a very, very tough hole to score on. So, you know how much you can attack though, and how, listen, you can make eagle on 13, you can make eagle on 15. You can put the ball in the water on 12 without any question. Remember a couple of years ago, the last time Tiger won? Do you remember how many different players you saw step up before Tiger played safe and put it over to the left side in front of the bunker so that, that safe spot? Remember how Molinari was on fire and then he put it in the water. Koepka put it in the water. 4 out of 5 players until Tiger came up and put it on the green, put it in the water. That's how delicate that shot is. And how, when you get to Amen Corner, how much and how the tournament can change so radically from really 10 through 16 at Augusta. And that's why the back 9 on Sunday at Augusta is, when you have 3 or 4 guys close, is golf at its absolute finest. At its exhilarating, because you can score or you can get it killed. You can hit the ball in the water, as we've seen so many guys do, or you can, you know, knock in a 10-foot birdie or even an eagle on 13 or 15 based on where you've put your drive. So I haven't seen the odds yet. They won't really put the odds out officially until after this weekend's tournament's over. But Scheffler will be the favorite. Rory will be, if his back's okay, and I think he's playing, will be the second favorite. Rahm will be the third favorite. After that, you could throw in a DeChambeau, and take it from there. Schauffele, Oberg, Fleetwood, guys like that. And see how some of the young players come through. Cameron Smith, Cameron Young, guys like that. McIntyre, Fitzpatrick, So there's still plenty of really good players out there. But no Tiger, no Phil. I always wondered what was going to happen when those guys weren't around. Well, we've learned to see. I know Scheffler isn't the charismatic figure that those other guys are, but he is a great, great golfer. And he is a guy that when he charges from behind, he's electrifying. He has made some incredible charges from behind. So baseball this afternoon, the Yankees at the stadium against the Marlins. They will have Warren on the hill. The Marlins have gotten off to I believe, a decent start. They might have changed the last couple of days. Let me look. No, they're 5-1. I mean, they were off to a really good start. Okay. I knew they would be good, but I didn't think it was that good. But I knew they were doing well. But 5-1. Yankees obviously off to a 5-1 start. Their pitching has been just otherworldly. And opening day, all that brings optimism. And so if you're packing up today and heading out to Yankee Stadium, enjoy. I know it's a different day for a lot of people because it is Good Friday, but still, if you're going out to the ballpark today, enjoy, enjoy. So, opening day, the Final Four tomorrow, a championship game on Monday night. Um, I got there's a new Steinbrenner book out about the Yankees and about George and Hal. So I have it. I'm going to read it and review it with Mike Vaccaro on Tuesday, I believe. I do that interview. So I got to finish the book. I don't do a lot of book reviews, but if I do, I've read the book because I won't do a book review if I haven't read the book. So I will read the book. I have it. I started it last night. First time I opened it, so it should be interesting. All about George from the day he purchased the team and really probably the second best bargain in the history of Manhattan after, the guys buying it for $24 because, Steinbrenner put in, I believe the figure is in real dollars, $168,000 of his own money to become managing general partner and buy the Yankees. He called it a bargain that day, and to say it was a bargain is the understatement of all time because he bought it for what Mike Burke and CBS, which wanted to unload it. They were terrible owners, for $10 million. But then Paley wanted the parking lots back, so they sold him the parking lots back, and it brought the number down, I believe, into the high eights, almost just on the nine. And Steinbrenner in cash put in actually it was either 162 or 168,000 of his own money, which is, can you fathom such a thing? The franchise has thrown off incredible amounts of revenue and has put money in so many people's pockets and is worth today probably 10 billion. $10 billion. Bought it for under 10 million, and in terms of upfront money, bought it for $168,000. As good a buy as there has ever been. And you know what's fascinating really about that is George has become far more revered in death because no one remembers the warts anymore. All they remember is how much he wanted to win and how he would have shaken things up and how he would have demanded performance and how he would have gotten rid of this guy and gotten rid of that guy and bought this guy and bought that guy. And that's what the fans love. They forget the crazy stuff. They forget the buffoonery stuff. They forget the Howie Spear and the Billy Martin craziness. They forget all that. And remember that he won and that he wanted to win so much. And I remember the missives. What I wouldn't do for a missive. Those were the best. Those were the best. The missives were the all-time best. I loved them. Loved them. And if you don't remember what a missive was, well, sorry. Ask somebody who knows. Now, Bet Rivers and the podcast are helping you get into the swing of the baseball season with a special baseball bonus bet. Bettors in New York and New Jersey can get a $10 bonus bet to use on any baseball game when they enter the code Francesa323 in their Bet Rivers app. The code again, Francesa, Francesa 323, available in the Bet Rivers app for New York and New Jersey bettors. Offer ends April 8th. Must be 21 or older. Eligible players only. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in New Jersey. Call 877-8-HOPE, all caps, HOPE, New York, NY. In New York, that's 467-369. Now, also, if you're looking for a betting angle, check out the Top Picks news feed in your Bet Rivers app. The Bet Rivers Banter news feed is filled with picks from different folks, handicappers, different insights. Tap the Top Picks icon in your Bet Rivers app to get the latest tips. And a lot of times, you know what? A lot of the fun is making your own decisions. But it doesn't mean you don't get a little information. You don't get a little insight. You might see something that you or read something that you didn't think of that moves you in a certain direction, and that's the idea. And then, add in your own insight, and away you go. That's the fun part. We will be with you after the 2 games tomorrow night. We will be with you after the championship game on Monday night. Should be 3 really good games because you couldn't have more evenly matched squads. Yes, the Michigan-Arizona winner is going to be favored. There's no question about that. Yes, UConn has a real chance to win on Saturday, but I think they need Reed to continue his incredible play and his performance I cannot overstate his performance in the Duke game. That's how good it was. That's one of the better big man performances I've seen in a big spot in many, many years. He has really lifted his game and his value enormously, enormously. Since really the game they beat St. John's, took them apart up in Stores, he was good that night, but his last couple of games in the NCAA tournament, the performance against Furman and then the performance against Duke have been otherworldly. They've been sensational. And there's a lot of size and a lot of talent on the court in these games, especially in the Michigan-Arizona game. Will be a lot of fun, worth watching. Enjoy. We'll see you later.